Hi, I'm Angelique Gonzalez, and this is my Writing to Learn Journal number 1, Chapter 1, The Importance of Literacy in Content Areas. The TEK I have chosen for this chapter is the Kindergarten TEK 6E. Response skills: listening, speaking, writing, reading, and thinking using multiple texts. The student responds to an increasingly challenging variety of sources that are read, heard, or viewed. The student is expected to E. Interact with sources in meaningful ways, such as illustrating or writing. The first question I want to ask myself is, how do I relate this TEK to the meaning of literacy and the mindset of a teacher? The best way I could think of answering this is that literacy is the ability and confidence to engage with different types of language to acquire, construct, and communicate meaning in all aspects of life. Younger children have a difficult time when first learning how to write or read, so finding meaningful ways such as illustrating or drawing pictures, or even symbols is a way to help write and distinguish what they want to say, and eventually put onto paper. I guess you can say it's more of an incentive to write or to want to write the corresponding words to the pictures. The 4 aspects of literacy. The first 2 aspects of literacy are emergent literacy and functional literacy. Emergent literacy is how teachers take children at their individual points and develop and help their literacy continue to grow or emerge. Using my TEK in this case, the kindergarten students can illustrate meaning in many ways, such as drawing. But it can be difficult when putting their words and ideas on paper to write. Functional literacy consists of reading and writing skills that are for real-life purposes, so individuals can function effectively in their communities. For kindergartners, learning 6E, as an example, would be being able to connect symbols and pictures to vocabulary words that they have already learned or are still learning. The 4 aspects of literacy continued. Workplace literacy is the mix of skills employees need to complete everyday tasks at work. This is comparable to classrooms because it places specific literacy demands on students as they try to accomplish day-to-day tasks. The example I use that aligns with the TEK chosen is an illustrator, because an illustrator is able to enhance writing or make concepts clear by providing visual representations. Content literacy, which is defined as the ability to use reading and writing for the acquisition of new content in a given discipline. I use the example of a kindergarten ELA teacher being able to teach kindergartners how to connect an illustration to vocabulary words learned or are learning or in books read. Implications of content literacy. Content literacy represents skills needed to gain knowledge of the content. In other words, the more background knowledge we as teachers and students have on a subject, the easier it is to teach or learn new content. An example using the TEK chosen would be that the teacher can start a lesson by having each of the children speak, illustrate, or write what they know prior to the content about to be taught. This allows students to get engaged with the lesson, and also allows teachers to see where he or she needs to start when teaching, or where each individual student's mindset is at. Disciplinary literacy. How does disciplinary literacy apply to my selected TEK? Well, when teaching this TEK, students need to know the different purposes for writing. For example, does this book or piece persuade you, entertain you, or inform you? Teachers need to expand students' concepts of the audience. Who are you writing to? Or, who is the author of this book writing to? Students must match or be exposed to the features of good writing, meaning students need to be shown what good writing looks like and sounds like, especially kindergartners who are first learning to read and write. Disciplinary literacy continued. Other disciplinary literacy methods when teaching younger students to read, write, and illustrate are teaching them how to properly hold a pencil, teaching them how to spell correctly, how to space correctly, and especially for the younger students, teachers should participate by writing and by sharing their writing. Some questions or techniques to use on children while teaching this TEK are: to ask open-ended questions. This helps students to think more in depth about their work. Examples could be, what will happen next? Or, how did you come up with that lead? Another is asking students to evaluate their pieces of work to help see patterns in their work. An example of this would be, what did you notice about your writing over the past couple of weeks? Teacher resistance to content literacy. Many teachers find it difficult to continue teaching reading and writing content to students if it does not show effectiveness right away. There are many excuses listed stating that certain literacy content just flat out does not help students, but rather dampens their attitudes. But there are so many other strategies to use in the educational field. A teacher who is one of many to inspire my educational journey is now retired after 32 years of teaching and always quoted the great activist Frederick Douglass to describe her teaching career, which states, if there is no struggle, there is no progress. Content literacy and TEAK standards. The Texas Essential Knowledge and Skills, TEAKs, describe what expectations students are held at to successfully pass each grade level. They are to help guide educational leaders, not tell us how to teach, but to guide. TEAKs keep structure and lead both the student and the teacher on their correct and successful paths. And finally, seeing yourself as a teacher. We as students on the path to becoming educational leaders need to use background knowledge of us as students to transfer that knowledge into us as becoming teachers. Using my TEAK as an example in this situation is taking my background knowledge on what I remember as a student, learning to illustrate, read, and write, and use what helped make it easier for me. This is the mentality of a self as a student, along with using new information learned to help teach this new information, also known as looking at yourself as the teacher. Thank you for listening and watching. Again, this is my Writing to Learn Journal number 1. I'll see you in the next one.